It's wonderful to welcome Rachel Dara to the podcast. She is a young up-and-coming singer-songwriter, a unique musical talent, currently based in Montreal, if I have that correctly. She released her debut album, The Next Big Invention, some time ago. So we're here to discuss about that and her musical journey. Rachel, how's it going?
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's going good. Lots of music happening.
Of course, yeah. You mean music coming from, you writing and recording, or music just everywhere around you?
Both. Really, really both. I got a lot going on. I have a lot of projects that are happening. Well, whether I've released the music or don't have the music released, there's always a process behind it, and I'm in multiple processes right now, and I'm loving it because the process is part of the art itself.
Of course, yeah. Can you shed some light into what those processes are?
Course. So there's when I'm making music, there's different kinds of making music. There's actually writing the music for yourself, and then there's putting it out as an artist. Writing the music for me personally is the easiest part because it's it's the hobby part of what you do. And then there's the business part of what you do, which is submitting everything into the distribution platforms, is planning a release, is scheduling everything, um, making cover art, shooting videos, shooting photos, promoting it, and booking shows, and having campaigns for your art. Right now, actually, at the moment, I'm working on having a digital release for my album that I recently put out, The Next Big Invention. So, making CDs, buying CDs, making the money to buy CDs, it's all looped. Being a musician is like being a jack of all trades because you have to do everything. And especially as an indie artist, a lot of it is doing it yourself. I'm lucky to to have some help, but most of what it is by myself.
I see. Yeah, it must be a lot of work.
Oh yeah, it is, but it's totally worth it.
Mhm. So, are there aspects of it that you wish would be less, I don't know, arduous?
Say that again.
Arduous. So, I guess daunting. That'd be the other word that.
I think the hardest part or the most daunting part would be trying to organize everything. I'm also a student, so I have to balance everything, and making sure that everything is prioritized correctly is also definitely the most difficult part, because sometimes I'm doing everything at once, and then there's one thing that technically would have the best outcome is the most important thing, but I'm doing so much that I'm just doing one thing at a time, and I'm not properly putting the right things first.
Of course, yeah. What are you studying?
I'm studying psychology.
Oh, cool. My younger brother is doing that too. He's in his second year now. So, what year are you in?
I'm in my first year. I'm in Montreal, so we basically have something called CEGEP before we do university. So it's college, but basically we do 2 to 3 years of CEGEP before we're eligible to go to university. You have to be at least, I think, 22 years old to go to university if you're no, if you're born in Montreal and decided not to go to CEGEP. So between then, after you graduate high school, grade 11, you got to go to college, which is where I am.
I see. What
Yeah.
school are you going to?
I go to a college called Marianopolis.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I actually haven't heard about that. So,
it's I mean, most CJEPs here in Montreal aren't that well known, like Canada wide, and especially not worldwide. So I'm sure that it makes sense that you haven't heard of it. But yeah, no, being a student and being a full, I honestly would consider myself to be kind of full time as a musician at this point. It's a lot of work, and I I love what I do, and I wouldn't change it.
of course, yeah. And what university would you like to go to?
I'm thinking of either McGill or Concordia. I don't want to leave Montreal,
Hmm.
because that way, if I'm in Montreal, I can work fully on music while being at university. Because if I'm living somewhere else, then I can't focus on my music. My entire focus would be on school. I would be like a complete full-time student. And um, as cool as it may be to live in another city, it's also extremely expensive. And university tuition here for people born and raised in Montreal is a lot less expensive than going to university out of province or out of country. But I honestly, if I had like all the money in the world, I'd probably go to Berklee College of Music because I have zero musical training and I think it'd be very cool to study music. So we can dream.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I certainly hope that you get into either one of them. I've heard of both McGill and Concordia, and they are top notch. So,
they are. My mom went to McGill, my dad went to Concordia.
oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
very fortunate of you. Do you know what they study?
My mom studied law and my dad studied philosophy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I guess your dad's is I guess academic discipline happens to overlap with mine because of the show's title.
that's it. Um, I think coming from a very I would say that we're more of like a focus on school kind of household. Um, I feel like that put a lot of discipline in me to work hard on my music and to take it seriously because I I thrive in environments where I'm told what to do and how to do it, and that's basically what school is. And when I figure out what to do and how to do it in music, I just keep on doing it and I see where it takes me. I just like it's the don't stop mentality or that you can't stop mentality. So that's basically it. And I feel like I wouldn't have recorded my album if it wasn't for that mentality. Because there's one thing, it's one thing writing songs, it's another thing being able to release an album, which I would say is one of my biggest accomplishments, and I'm very proud of it. I also have another EP extended play record coming. Probably by the end of this year, I'm going to start releasing the singles from it. There's 3 songs, so it's a big thing for me.
Of course. Yeah. And I look forward to the release of the EP as well.
I look forward to you hearing it.
Yeah.
I can
And
tell you a
certainly,
bit about it if you'd like.
I'm sure it'll be coming out next year.
Probably, yeah. The EP itself would probably be released as a whole next year, but I am most likely starting to release like each song as a single towards the end of this year so that I can put out new music. That's what I did with the next big invention. I released each song as a single until it led up to the album. Because if you just drop an album, no one knows who you are. You can't really just drop an album um without any people who know you. And I'm a very small artist. I don't even have 100 monthly listeners on streaming platforms, but I have about 5 people who come see me play who I don't know, who are not my friends, who are not in my age category, who found me as an artist, and they still come support me. And that's when I realized that this means that I can put something out because I have people who genuinely care about it.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm very
Yeah.
glad to hear it.
They're all my friends. I meant to say they're friends that I made through my music. They found me as an artist, and I consider people um I consider this as a sort of friendship. Like fanship is a sort of friendship. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I happen to think the same thing too. I've made plenty of friends who are musicians through doing this program.
Yeah. 100%. It would make sense. You meet people and then you connect with people and you see them so much. So that's how it happens.
Mhm. Yeah. Which from those friends, I got to know other artists. So that's how I got to know you. I believe Becca Bartlett introduced me
Yeah,
to music. So I believe she lives in Newfoundland right now. So
she
how did
does.
you guys connect?
So we actually met in person. We met at the Folk Alliance conference here in Montreal. I signed up. I found out that there's an international folk conference happening in my city. Um, and I obviously had to be there. And I only found out the week before it was happening. So of course, the day before I buy a ticket. Um, and I met so many folk artists like me from around the world, and Becca was one of them. And we bumped into each other there. We started talking. It was like a networking session, and she actually studies at Berkeley, virtually. And yeah, no, we hit it off. We both have super long hair, so that also brought us together. And yeah, I really, really loved that conference, and her music is spectacular.
Oh yeah, yeah. She introduced me to the music of the Grateful Dead, which I really appreciated. I've heard of their name for some years, but I've never really paid attention to them. But Becca got me into them. So
Oh, it's all good. I'm glad that she did. She's very, very sweet
mhm.
and
Yeah,
super talented.
since you mentioned Berkeley College, so if you had a chance to actually go there, what would you like to be studying?
I'd probably study songwriting and if I can production. Like this is in a world where everything is free. Everything is free. You don't got to pay for anything or you have all the money in the world to pay for it. And if I had all the money in the world to pay for it, it would probably be songwriting and production because as a songwriter, as someone who does this so much, it's important to grow and to learn and to challenge myself. And as once again as a songwriter, I want to learn how to produce because I wouldn't consider myself to be a great music producer. However, I am learning. I started producing songs for a friend called Allison Dent, and they're pop songs. And I've been writing and producing songs for her. And I haven't really dabbled in that kind of pop yet, but I did, and they're actually out on all platforms. So that was basically me playing around with BandLab and taking sample free samples, putting them together, seeing what sounds right, adding things to it, and then writing a song and a melody, and that's basically how I did it. And I got Allison to sing.
That's cool. Yeah. So Allison Dent, that'd be Dent.
DNT. Yeah, if you like pop, you could check her out. My
Yep.
personal favorite is Baby I'm Lost. That's the one I'd recommend to you.
Okay. Is that the one that you happen to be the producer of?
I wrote and produced all three. There's
Oh,
three
okay.
songs. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll check out her music and hopefully I'll get onto the show and tell her that you send me.
Enjoy. Allison's a very small artist. She actually hasn't shown her face yet. She's never performed live, but she wanted to put out music and try it. So I support that and I wanted to help.
Of course. Yeah, I started this podcast as a radio show back when I was doing school in Canada. So
Cool.
my focus is often on small artists because they are they're easy to invite and they're eager to get their music out.
Well, I'm
And
honored to be on the show.
yeah, the honor's all mine, believe me. And
Thanks for having me once again.
and I continue to do this format as podcast form. Um, and I've enjoyed it so far.
It's cool. I like podcasts. I like the dynamic of how podcasts work.
Oh yeah, yeah, me too. I like listening to it, and yeah, I would prefer having like in-person conversations, but this would do.
I've realized I've done about, I'd say like 35 interviews over the past 3 years, and I've never had an in-person interview.
Okay,
Yeah, I would love to be in. Oh, I've had one in-person interview, but I don't know if it was aired. It was at the ESA Awards in Atlanta, Georgia, when I won two ESA Awards in 2023, which was crazy. I also think would be one of my biggest accomplishments. And I just found out that I was nominated for four more this year, and that voting is open this month. So there's actually a link to vote. Anyone can vote, and it's basically whoever gets the most votes like can win. So I'm gonna start promoting that as soon as I can.
of course. So when's the upcoming award show?
It's in August of this year. It's I think August 24th, 2025. Unfortunately, I can't be there because I'm going to be playing festivals in uh in New York State. So like the New York State Fair and some super cool things. But I will be there in spirit. And it was so cool being there in 2023. I went with my family. We drove all the way down. So that was like 2 days of a drive. And it was a great trip, truly.
Yeah, I bet. I haven't driven from Montreal to Atlanta, so
Yeah, my dad drove. He's a good driver. I unfortunately am not the best driver. I have my permit. I do not have my license yet. That's part of the problem with everything I'm doing is that it's hard to find the time to do things, and getting a driver's license is one of them.
mhm. Yeah.
I've become very reliant on public transport to get to where I need to be. Luckily, whenever I'm playing a show, my dad comes with me and he drives. Um, and it's a huge help because I have a lot of equipment that I wouldn't be able to take on public transport. So it's I'm very grateful for my dad's help in that
Mhm.
sense. And yeah, no, it's sometimes a lot when you have to figure out how to balance things. But it's okay because I love what I do.
Mhm. Yeah. So which award categories are you being nominated for this year?
I have to double check. I actually am not quite sure. I just know there's four, but I believe one of them is Female Songwriter of the Year. Um, I think yeah, one of them is Female Songwriter of the Year. I need to double check the other three. I think one of them is Female Vocalist of the Year too. But I'm not 100% sure. All I know is that I was nominated for four categories, and I have to go see that and share it, and I will, and then I'll
Mhm.
tell you.
Okay. Yeah. So the podcast is scheduled to come out next month, so plenty
Oh,
of
awesome!
time when August comes and everything.
Yeah, by that time, I would have racked up all my nominations. Not nominations, votes. My bad, wrong word.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to fill me in on what ISA stands for.
So ISA is basically the International Singer-Songwriters Association, and it's a nonprofit organization that helps support indie artists by an indie artist. Tammany Dove is the CEO of ISA, and she is an indie artist herself. She is so sweet, genuinely a very generous lady, and beautiful, and incredibly talented too. And anyone who knows her is lucky to know her.
All right.
And yeah, so I became a member of ISA in 2020 just for fun. I didn't think that I would end up being nominated for like seven awards in 2023, and my family and I ended up going down, and I didn't think I'd win any, and I ended up winning two, which was crazy to say the least. It was one of the highlights of my career so far. And I'm just very grateful for my fellow artists who are extremely supportive of me because I feel like you the best way to support someone is to actually understand their journey, and independent artists they get it. They know how confusing it is, and they know the whole process behind making music and what it's like to be an independent artist. So we support each other.
Yeah. I should mention that the awards that you won in 2023 were for Rising Star and Music Video of the Year.
Yeah, for 18,
Hmm.
which was very cool. My dad shot that music video right behind our house. It was a one take video. So he was especially excited when we won because that basically meant that he won too because he filmed it and edited it with his team. Um and yeah, no, it was super cool.
Yeah. And I should mention that I'm not a musician, but I've talked to enough independent artists to know that it can be a there's no roadmap, so to speak,
Yeah,
for independent artistry. You kind of have to figure it out all by yourself.
that's exactly what it is. And I think there's also a lot of pressure to know what you're doing and to do it right. And I don't think I don't think that's necessarily fair because you can follow the same path as someone who ended up successful and end up failing. It's it's a hit or miss. You can't say I'm going to be something. You could work really, really hard. It will bring you it will bring you a certain amount of success, but you can't expect that you're just gonna blow up if you follow other people's things or other people's that was the wrong word to use. If you follow other people's journeys or past journeys.
Mhm. How would you describe the Rachel Dara sound?
So I'd say that my sound is very haunting. That's what I aim to do. I want to sound like I'm haunting people. Um, my music right now is very folky. Um, it's very acoustic. I would say that my sound is influenced by a lot of the modern music that I listen to, but at the same time, it has some like contemporary influences. And you can hear I like to say that you can hear what I listen to in my music, because I may be I may be putting out folk music right now, but I'm very inspired by grunge and R&B. A lot of what I listen to is 90s grunge, 2020s R&B, and 2010s pop, and I kind of put that into my folk music. And you can hear that the song structure kind of comes from there. And I just like to play around with different sounds. I like to see what my voice can do. And sometimes it's about the best songs are the most simple songs. And I like to make simple songs, but at the same time I like to make complex songs. So and all I would say that my sound is all over the place, but in the best way possible.
Mhm. Yeah, let's dive into an example of such. Your song 18, as you've mentioned, I'm guessing the title is a reference to your age.
So the reference, it's actually not a reference to my current age,
Okay.
or it is a reference to my current age, but it's not a reference to my life now. I wrote that song when I was 14,
Hmm.
and I wrote it about being scared of like growing up and being independent and um of not having anyone to like rely on because you can't really hide behind you can't hide behind your parents anymore when you're 18, where you have to take responsibility for your own actions. And that really scared me because um, I don't like confrontation. I don't like being blamed for things. And um, I I honestly didn't really know what my life would be like at 18 years old. And I've never really sat down and thought about the fact that this is what I thought would happen, everything in this song, and what's my life like now. And I have to say that um, you know, they're valid predictions. They're valid questions that I asked in that song, and I'm glad I made it into a song. Really.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that. I'm certainly older than 18 at this point, and yeah, I can remember quite vividly how rather terrifying my 18 year was. Yeah, what they say is, their first year of adulthood, but it is true that you you kind of have to figure everything out on your own. Um, there are no real guide, no your peers and your friends, they do not know, and those who are way older than you cannot give you any guidance because when they were 18, they lived at a different time.
That's true. I feel like there's a lot of pressure from people who are older than us to say like, hey, when I was your age, I was doing this. I'd moved out when I was 19. I'd done this, I'd done that. But a lot of this is impossible because we live at a different time in a different economy. And there's there's many changes in our environment, and uh financial things have changed, and social things have changed. And I still think that, you know, the difference between 17 and 18 is all legal. It's all legal stuff. I'm still the same teenager that I was last year, and I will be the year after this year too. um 20 is when things start to change, and you're more of you're more of an adult, I'd say, but legally it's 18. So a lot of people like to use that as an excuse um, to do bad things, but to also um, say that like you're old enough to do this now too. So it's a lot. It can be a lot of pressure, and I saw that coming 4 years away.
And did you have I guess, would you describe your 14th year?
It was the year that changed my life. It was one of the worst years and um, brought me some of the best things. If it wasn't for that year, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be doing half of the things that I'm doing right now. That's the year that made me a musician, an artist. You know what? No, scratch that. That's the year that made me an artist. I've always been a musician, but I wouldn't have been the artist that I am today if it wasn't for that 14th year. Um, I was doing COVID concerts every single weekend because I was home from school. Everyone else went back to school, but I was home because I come from a immunocompromised family. So I spent most of my time in my room writing music, and that music I would play every single weekend. I developed um, people who knew who I was, who would listen to my music, and um, eventually I got a call from somebody who I met through these COVID concerts. His name is Tim Steinruck. He is based in Coquitlam, BC, and he is a singer-songwriter, but also a rock titan, and he's the head of the band The Mighty One. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, I know a booking agent in New Brunswick who knows uh, a producer in Nova Scotia who's nomadic. His name is Mark Howard." And he didn't say more than that. But to summarize, Mark Howard is a very, very accomplished producer. He's worked with Joni Mitchell, he's worked with U2. He won a Grammy for a project he did with Bob Dylan. And I didn't know who any of these people were. And I decided, you know what, let's use the money that I made throughout these online concerts that I was doing, and let's drive down to Nova Scotia. So my dad and I drove down to Nova Scotia, and me and Mark recorded this album, The Next Big Invention, in 2 days, 8 songs in 2 days. And throughout all of this, throughout all the music stuff that was happening, I was feeling so lost and so hurt and so sad and so alone. I lost a lot of my close friends. We drifted. I I was trying to figure out who I was as a person and as an artist, and I was having some health problems too. Uh, and I was just all over the place. And I feel like I've never really spoken about that before. People don't really know that. You might be able to see it and think about it, but I don't think people know just how difficult the pandemic was for me, because I I used that 14th year to bring people joy, but I needed some joy in my life, and I'm still really glad that that year happened because I learned so much and I did so much sitting in this chair in this desk, and now I can do other things. It's just it's like a full circle moment. So that's what it was like being 14 for me.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Um, I can I can remember that when I reached the age of 14, I found out that, so it was way before the pandemic, so I guess 2013 maybe. Yeah, that was when I discovered that I did not want to do the things that some of my peers are doing, or some of the people that I know were doing, like the adults, so to speak. I
Yeah.
wanted to like chart my own course, for lack of a better term. Like I want to do the things I envision myself doing and not to follow the path of others. Um, so, but what I did not realize, and that is something that I've to learn like years and years after is that that can be a very lonely thing to decide because when you go on to what the proverbial road less traveled, there are few people, and in certain junctions, you might find yourself the only person who's doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
so
exactly how it felt.
I had to
It's
struggle
exactly
with,
exactly how it
yeah,
felt.
I had to struggle with a profound sense of loneliness for years and years. It didn't take me until like recently for me to sort of come to terms with it. So, yeah, it's I guess 14-year-olds should be careful what you decide, or if you do decide to do your own thing, know that there are challenges ahead.
100%. That's I feel like 14-year-olds are just kids, and some of them know it and some of them don't. And some of them feel like they have to take the whole world onto their shoulders and know everything they have to do with their future. And some are just like, I'm only gonna be 14 once. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna do whatever I want. Um, so it's really a subjective experience, but I'm I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that sense of loneliness. And I know exactly how that felt. I actually wrote a song about that. It's one of the songs on my album. Uh, it's called Young and Alone. And I wrote that about feeling like everybody um, is ahead of you uh, in their lives and socially. And especially at that period of time, I kind of wrote it like specifically about that period of time. But it applies to all periods of time. And you just feel like you're just there. And that profound loneliness. And yeah, no, that's another reason why I love doing what I do because I feel like I can put um, feelings into words that aren't just mine, that are other people's. Uh, I like to be relatable. I don't like that people have to relate to it, but I like to be relatable.
Of course. What do you hope people would take away from listening to your music?
Exactly what I just said. I hope people can feel like they're seen and they're heard, but at the same time, I want people to just enjoy my music. The music that I have out right now and the music that I'm going to be putting out later this year, I feel like I'd have two different answers to that question. About the music that I have out now, I would say I want people to connect with it and I want people to feel like um, this music shows them that they're seen, but at the same time, I want them to be able to play my album and feel like they can relax and just wind down in the beginning of the day or at the end of the day and give them a sense of hope, but also give them a sense of clarity about life and um, about my newer stuff that the world is yet to hear. I play it at shows all the time, but I haven't released it yet. About that, I want people to truly enjoy it. I want people to be like, I want people to think it's cool. I want cool people to want to be cool to those songs. That's what I want people to take away from that. Um, but I also want people to see that there are many stories in this world and that sometimes they can be told in different ways and that you can enjoy these stories. You can make enjoyment out of them. And I just want people to find comfort through my music and whether that's uh the kind of comfort that goes out of your comfort zone or the kind of comfort that stays in your comfort zone.
A lovely
I hope
answer.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a lovely answer. Um, I enjoy listening
Thank
to the album too. Again, it's called The Next Big Invention.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. The next big invention was one of the best things that's happened to me.
Mhm. Yeah. Why do you call it that way?
So it's named after the last track. It has a title track which is called The Next Big Invention. And I wrote that song. I actually named it that after something I had heard. I was once again sitting in my online class in grade 8, and I heard a girl doing a class presentation, an oral presentation, and she was talking about inventions and inventors. And at the end of her speech, she said, "You never know what can end up being the next big invention." And I had a light bulb go off in my head, and I was like, I don't know anything about science. I don't know anything about math. I I'm barely started through my life, but I can make the next big invention. And I wrote the next big invention was made sitting in my room, and it just went went from there. And that I'm no genius, but the next big invention is what you see, is what I'm doing, is the art that I'm putting out into this world.
Mhm. Yes. And yeah, it's certainly reflected that spirit in the songs.
I'm glad that you see that and that you find that there's spirit in the song because I was aiming to put spirit into there.
Mhm. Yeah. And you mentioned yeah, wanting to stay in Montreal. And I've visited the city twice, and I could tell you that if I was born in Montreal, I don't think I would want to leave.
Oh, well, I think that's super awesome. I'm glad you liked it here. I honestly um one day might leave Montreal. I would like to try different things and see where that takes me with music, but I know for school I don't want to leave Montreal. And I don't think I can feel at home anywhere else but here. This is truly my home.
Mhm. What's your favorite part about the city?
My favorite part about the city, well, there's a whole bunch of things to do. And I feel like Montreal is huge. And in the sense where you can you can really go anywhere and you'll find a completely different environment. It's like many different cities in one. It's it's like all of Canada in one place. It's so big. There's so much soul in Montreal and you can go anywhere and it'll be so different, but you're still in the same city. I feel like about Toronto, I love Toronto, but at the same time, it's um it kind of feels like the same thing. You have the suburbs and then you have the GTA. And then there's like nothing in between. Montreal is all about those in betweens. So um that's really why I love it.
Mhm. Yeah, Toronto can be overwhelming for me. I think I walked through the city one day and I felt a bit dizzy given all
Yeah,
the tall buildings and such.
I actually love those tall buildings, but yeah, I get it can be overwhelming. I went to the CN Tower once. It was very tall, but yeah, I would love to visit there more often. Um, but I don't know if I would live there for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll live there for a certain period of time, but yeah, Montreal is where I want to be, but I want to expand my music past there. I'm also American. I'm a dual citizen. And if I were to live anywhere in the US, I'd probably live in New York City.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
I would say New York City can be overwhelming too, perhaps even more overwhelming than Toronto.
100%. My dad's from New York City,
Ah.
but I do love big cities. But at the same time, I love suburban areas, but suburban in the sense where it feels like the city. It's like a suburb in the city.
Mhm.
I don't like deep suburbs, but I like suburbs that are in the city.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of those like pop punk people, like Blink-182 or whatnot, but
Yeah.
there's this common theme where they all sing about wanting to leave this town that they grew up in, and the plot twist being that they all happen to be from the same town. But there's
Yeah.
but basically there's this trope that there's this area of living that these pop punk bands want to get out of, and that happen to be the suburbs. So, but I find that
That's how
there,
grunge was created.
yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from grunge because the thing is, I actually just had something very cool happen to me relating to grunge. I posted a cover of Black Hole Sun
Mhm.
by Soundgarden, and I was playing the guitar in a new weird way. And Chris Cornell, who was the lead of Soundgarden, who passed away, unfortunately, his estate, whoever's running his Instagram account, so probably his family or his manager, they shared that. And that account is 1 million followers. So his official account shared my cover.
Mhm.
And that was huge for me. I didn't expect that. That's never happened to me before. But I've always taken inspiration from grunge in the sense where grunge artists don't they just don't care. They just do the music. It's not about will I be likable? It's about like I just want to make music and see how far it'll go. And that's the approach that I want to do. I really want to care less about who I am as an artist and I just want to do more and care less. And I really admire that about grunge artists.
All right. Yeah. And I'm guessing that means you got like a thumbs up from Chris Cornell from The Afterlife.
Sorry?
Yeah. Yeah. You got a thumbs up from him, like a seal of approval from him, from The Afterlife,
Oh,
maybe.
I now that I think about it, maybe that's true and that's a huge thing for me. And now whenever I feel like I can't I used to hate listening to my own voice. I used to hate listening to my own music, but recently I've been really enjoying listening to my own stuff. And now whenever I feel like I know nothing about music and I feel like I'm a bad artist or um I don't know, whenever I have bad feelings about myself as an artist, I listen to that cover and I remember that Chris Cornell's estate shared it.
All right. Yeah.
That they don't share everyone's thing, that they
Mhm,
shared that.
mhm. Yeah. I actually haven't gotten into Soundgarden too much. So tell me about that song again.
So Black Hole Sun,
Yeah.
that's here's the thing. You'll never find any song that sounds like Black Hole Sun. It's a very unique song. It's a hit song. It came out, I think, in I don't know when. I think 1994. I might be wrong, but 1994 was a huge year for music because that's when
Yep.
Jeff Buckley released his Grace album. I
Yep.
love the 90s, especially Jeff Buckley. I have a poster there in the back. His music
Yep.
very much inspires me. And yeah, so Chris Cornell wrote that song while driving in his head in 10 minutes. And then the band released that. And I I believe he wrote it about addiction, but I'm not quite sure. Uh, and when I remember the first time I listened to it, I was with my carpool in grade seven, my carpool's father, who would drive me to school every day, who introduced me to classic rock and grunge, the 90s grunge. And he started playing Black Hole Sun, and I was just sitting there, completely fascinated. I was just enthralled. And um I'd never heard anything like it. And I was just hyper fixated on it. And then I rediscovered it last year, my last year of high school. And I became like fixated on it again. It was the only thing that song was the only thing I listened to for about a month. And whenever I felt lonely in high school, I would play that song and I would just uh listen to it on loop. And I would sneak into the music room when no one was in there and I would teach myself how to play it on guitar and figure out what sounded best. And I just practiced it for a year and that happened.
That's great. Yeah. I can remember there was this one year in my life where I predominantly listened to the Smiths, the band. The
Oh, there is a light that will never go out.
Yep, that's the one. The Queen is
Yeah.
Dead. Still one of my favorite albums. So yeah, that year happened to be 2020. So yeah, you can imagine the state of mind I was in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure most of us were in it, unfortunately.
Okay. So finally, what does music mean to you?
I feel like there's so much I can say about that, but it's more about what music does for me than what it means to me because music is not music for me is not a hobby. It's like a lifestyle. It's who I am. And in the sense that um without music I wouldn't be me. I I would be so dull without music in the sense that um it brings me happiness, it brings me comfort, it helps me feel emotions. It's like an emotion processor. I can't properly feel things without music. And I'm an extremely empathetic person, and the music just like makes that happen. So music is a way for me of just unloading everything that's in my head. It's self-expression 100%. It's a huge way of helping me express myself, but at the same time, it also helps me play around with my creativity and imagination. And music definitely, I embody it, and I'm synesthesic or synesthesic or however you pronounce it. I have auditory visual synesthesia, so I process music and in forms of color. So whenever I play a chord, I see a certain color, and um, in the sense that everything would be dark without music, there would be no color. And I'm a colorful person, and music brings me rainbows and fun and colors, but it also brings me those dark colors and those intense colors, and it's like my safe space.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you very much, Rachel Dara,
Thank
for joining the show.
thank you for having me.